Okay, guys, we're inside of After Effects, and here's our welcome screen. Remember, you can study the tips of the day to get a lot familiar with the inner workings of After Effects. Great way of understanding what's happening with the application. You guys should have copied the first 10. Be sure to study these. We're probably going to have these incorporate into our Friday test. You guys should be studying the 3 P's of production. You also should have a list of the first 10 After Effects shortcuts of the day. Study these, you guys, so that Friday when we have our exam, you're okay. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is probably save this document. After Effects always opens up and creates a new document. It's a good idea to save it. So, first thing I'll do is File, Save As. And I'm going to navigate to the place I'm saving my files. You guys are probably going to navigate to the thaw space to your folder. So I'm going to actually create a folder on the desktop and call it After Effects. We'll go ahead and name this Basic Animation. And then we can save it. Perfect. So now we've created this new project. Spend some time studying the components that make up the After Effects interface. But for the most part, I'm going to be working with the workspace called Standard. So I'm going to reset that workspace. And you can see how the panels shift to their locations. First thing we need to do is import something to work with. So inside of the project panel, I'm going to double click to bring up the import file dialog box. I'll go ahead and navigate out to that folder that we've downloaded. And I'm going to select all these files. Actually, I'm going to select the images. I'll select the Adobe Illustrator file second. Grab these images, they're JPEGs, and I'll simply click open. Make sure that JPEG sequence isn't selected. If it is, the images are going to come out stacked as one on top of each other. So make sure that's not selected. We'll click open, and now you can see we've opened up those images. Go ahead and create a bin or a new folder and call it Pictures. Press enter and then select those images and drag them into that bin. We always work neat, right? Great time to save, Control S. Okay, next thing we need to do is bring in our logo. So again, to bring in information into most of the applications that Adobe has, we can double click the project panel. That opens up the import file dialog box. And I'm going to select the Adobe Illustrator file. Illustrator files are similar to Photoshop files, and that we can open those up as compositions because they contain multiple layers. So I'm going to choose simply composition for that, and I'll simply click open. A couple things are going to happen. The file comes in as a composition icon. There's also a folder that contains the layers. And you can see that all of the layers that make up that Illustrator document. There's a lot going on. So I actually built this in Illustrator, layer by layer. And After Effects is smart enough to say, hey, I can bring that in as one component. Or you can work with the separate layers if you want. For the most part, we'll be working with the composition, all of the layers intact. Perfect. Great time to save. Control S to save. Now it's time to create a composition. Right now you can see the composition panel is empty, as well as our timeline area right here. There's no comp. In After Effects, you have to make a composition to begin to work. So in our next lesson, we'll create a composition and we'll begin to add the elements to our comp.